My paid ad strategy took this business from 30K a month to over 2 million a month. No bullshit. And here's the proof so you know I'm not lying. In this video, I'm going to be revealing the 4 pillars that you really need to understand to master customer acquisition at a high level. From understanding the market to the importance of trends, the exact systems we use for scaling, and more. The next few minutes is basically a summary of all the things that I've learned from scaling clients to 8 and multiple 8 figures, and will determine whether you take your business from 7 figures to 8 figures and beyond, or keep you from burning money on useless ads. So first, let's talk about the attention economy. I'm sure you've heard that in today's economy, attention is the new currency. And in many ways, it's true. We're living in an era where attention inevitably gets converted into some sort of money. But the problem is that attention is a finite resource. There's only so many people, and we only have so much capacity for paying attention to someone or something. And with the rise of AI, there's more and more content, and there's more and more products and services being created, and people pushing their stuff on other people. So as a result, we have gotten very good at filtering out irrelevant information. And the big ad platforms have essentially commoditized the attention of people and sell it to advertisers. We can actually quantify the scarcity of this attention. I like to use CPM as basically a proxy metric for this. If you look at the CPMs of major advertising platforms over the last 5 to 10 years, they've all steadily increased. Facebook's up about 89% from the beginning. TikTok is up 92%. Snapchat is up 64%. TikTok alone saw a 12% jump and a 90% surge since the year before. So because attention is a finite resource, the game for capturing attention is zero sum. So understanding how to do it is going to allow you to unlock your true scaling potential. Before you can do that, there's one important piece you need to get dialed in, which is sustainable unit economics. If a customer is worth less than what it costs to acquire them, your growth obviously becomes a liability and not a win. It can be very dangerous to scale a company when acquisition costs keep climbing. I remember one time hopping on a call with a publicly traded company that had never turned a profit in their entire lives. And the main reason was they just didn't have sustainable unit economics. What a lot of these VC-backed companies and publicly traded companies do is they just keep raising money to finance unsustainable customer acquisition. So the idea goes something like, we can acquire them at a loss and we'll improve our products so that churn is very low, and we'll be able to make back the customer acquisition costs in 12 months, 24 months, 48 months, whatever it is, right? Which is why you'll see a lot of these VC-backed startups project, 12, 24, 48 month payback periods, essentially. The problem is that that's a huge gamble. You really don't want to be in a position where you're forced to have to improve your product to be profitable on LTV. And that's why so many of these VC-backed companies are actually gross margin negative. They'll spend more money than the customer is worth on acquiring them. And then to facilitate their growth, they'll just go raise another round, a bigger and bigger round, to try and get more and more customers, which ultimately means they're going to end up crashing and burning. That's just a dangerous place to be. And this is why a lot of 7-figure brands or even 8-figure brands plateau, because their economics are broken. And we've seen this play out on large scales as well. For example, WeWork was never ever profitable in their entire lives. Other examples include low ticket businesses or low LTV products. For example, e-com products that are kind of one-time buys that are only 20 to 30 bucks. The best economic models that I've seen are really sticky subscription products, so actually good software, or high ticket, high AOV products. With the client that we scaled to over 2 million a month, they had very solid economics. Their average packages were 20 to 30K, with some as high as $200,000, and our cost to acquire that customer was less than $10,000. Some other good examples of this are Plunge, which is a cold plunge company selling a $5,000 to $9,000 cold plunge with a reported CPA of under $1,000. So essentially they're profitable on first purchase and there's no payback period. AG1, which I'm sure you've all heard of, is a $1.2 billion company now, which has an extremely high retention rate because of how sticky their product is. It's a subscription model where users are staying loyal for 3+ years. But even if you have the perfect economics, you'll hit a ceiling unless you capitalize on this opportunity I'm about to share now, which is the importance of trends. The fastest growing companies don't just follow trends, they're positioned to ride them from the very beginning. To be very clear, a trend is very different from a fad. So a fad would be something like the fidget spinner, where the graph kind of looks like this, it explodes and then it goes away. A trend is something more steady that grows over time. And the reason why a trend is important is because a trend is really just a proxy for demand. If there's a trend for something, it means there's already demand for it in the market, which means all we have to do is position ourselves as the best solution out there to be able to capture all the demand that already exists, rather than trying to create demand from scratch. This is why a lot of those companies that I just mentioned are popping off. The Cold Plunge Company and AG1 are both riding off of this trend of health and wellness that's becoming more popular in North America. People are becoming more aware and more conscious of their health, right? Which is why you see the Brian Johnsons, the Andrew Hubermans, right? These people making content is changing and having a material effect on the market, and why wearables are becoming more popular, cold plunges, saunas, and all this stuff is becoming more popular. It's riding a steady trend. Another big trend right now is obviously AI, right? So our client did exactly that. They were in the alternative investing space and they entered it with a fresh new angle, riding a trend. So if you want to find a trend, there's many ways. You can use Google Trends, which is free. Another one I like to use is Exploding Topics. Then they show you trends popping off as early as 1 to 3 months. But here's the hard part. Most people either miss the trend or choose something that dies out way too fast. If you're late to the trend, then you're playing the game of catch up, then you're just a business trying to stand out in a bunch of noise. Or if you pick the wrong trend, or if you don't ride a trend at all, then you're basically competing in a mature market where there's already likely a big player, meaning your best outcome is likely going to be another nominal company that doesn't really get anywhere, unless you have some crazy tech to change that industry. So to summarize, real wins come from riding emerging trends early. Again, Plunge rode the cold plunge trend. AG1 basically rode the gut health trend. It's not just a supplement. So once you've found the trend that matches your product or service, next comes the systems to distribute it, which is building a growth engine. You think 8 to 9 figure brands get there by just throwing a bunch of BS at the wall and seeing what sticks? Absolutely not. They were using systems engineered to take them further. So here are the 5 pillars. Number 1 are the fundamentals. So things that we talked about, like trends, crafting a good offer, pricing, etc. Number 2 is the acquisition strategy. How are you going to grow? Are you going to do it through paid ads, organic marketing, partnerships, affiliates? Number 3 are the sales assets, things like the onboarding flows, lead magnets, VSLs, webinars, things like that. And then picking the right channels. For most people, that is going to be Meta, YouTube, TikTok, and Google. And then maybe for some fringe companies, LinkedIn, but that's basically where most people will go to acquire clients. And then the 5th one is iteration, slowly refining these processes over time. So just to recap, in today's video, you learned how to use marketing trends and proven systems to scale your business with an ad funnel. But obviously building a winning campaign takes a lot of work, and that's exactly why we handle it all for you. We've scaled many clients to $1 million months, $2 million months, and if you're the right fit, we even invest our ad spend into your offer. So just click the first link below, lock in a time to speak with me, and we'll see if you're a fit. Thanks for watching.